everyone, Mr. Voikin here on Unit 9, Lesson 5, looking further into linear equations. And what we want to recognize from the opening page here is that there are three formats for the equation of a line. The first one is the general form, and it's laid out like ax plus by plus c. And we usually want to have the value, the coefficient in front of the x as being positive. The next format is the slope Y-intercept form, and that is y equals mx plus b. The great thing about that equation is that I've got the slope and the y-intercept that I can use to do some graphing with. And the last form is the slope point form, in which case I still have the m in there, so the slope and another point on the graph. So this one can be very useful as well. And what we want to be able to do is convert in between and from one sort of to the other, depending on the information that we're given. Okay, so let's move over here into class example number 1. It says that we have a line that's got 2 points on it, point P and point Q. And they have the coordinates that are given right there, and we now need to figure out the equation for that line and put it into general form. So the first thing I want to make sure is that I know what general form is, and that's going to be ax plus by plus c equals 0, and we're going to want a, b, and c to have numerical values. Okay, so I can't just place one of these point numbers in there and come up with the equation. So I need to start somewhere else. Well, what do I know when I'm given 2 points? What can I determine? I can determine its length, and I can also determine the slope. So the slope is going to be important because I have 2 other equations that I can work with. So y equals mx plus b, and y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so in both cases I need to have an m. I need to have a slope. So I'm going to go up here and call this x and y1 on that point, and this will be x and y2 on the second point. And now what I can do is calculate my slope. Okay, so m, which is the slope, equals rise over run, which equals the change in y, delta y, over the change in x, delta x, which equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have those points, so I can calculate the slope. So that's going to equal y2, which is negative 6, minus y1, which is negative 1, over x2, which is negative 2, minus x1, which is 3. And if we simplify this, the math is going to come out with negative 5 over negative 5, which equals a slope of positive 1. So that is the work that was needed to calculate the slope. And I'm just going to resize that and sort of move it up to here right now. So now that I know my slope is 1, and I've got these points, which are x and y points, I can start to fill in some of the variables. So let's move over to the left here, y equals mx plus b. And we'll just choose any one of these points. I'll start off with point P. So what is the value of y? It's negative 1 equals m. What is the slope? 1. What is the value of x at point P? It's going to be 3. And I don't know the b. So now if I do the math here, it's negative 1 equals 3 plus b. And I'm going to minus 3 from both sides, canceling this out in order to isolate the b. And b equals negative 1 minus 3, which is negative 4. So now I can take that information and put it back into this equation. So y equals m, which is 1. So I don't need to write that, just x. But there is a 1 there, so it's 1x. Minus 4, which is my y-intercept. the problem is this is in the wrong format. They want it in general form. So I need the x to be positive. It's already positive, and everything needs to be on one side, and the other side should be equal to 0. So the x is positive, so x. And the y, I'm going to have to minus y from sort of both sides. Canceling that out, leave me with nothing on that side. So I've got x, and then I've got minus y, and minus 4 equals 0. And that is the equation of the line in general form. Okay, well, what if I started off with this equation over here? Okay, so again, I just need to replace the variables that need to be replaced. So in this case, y, I want to go with the red, y minus y1, which is going to be minus -1, equals m, which is a value of 1, times x minus x1, which is 3. Okay, so this, if I start to simplify it, is y plus 1 equals x minus 3. Now again, what I need to do is put everything onto one side and the other side equaling 0, so we have the same format like down here. So x is already positive right there, so it's on one side, x, but I need to move this y and the 1 over to the other side. So because it's a positive y, I'm going to minus y. And because it's a positive 1, I'm going to minus 1. And whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. That cancels right there, leaving us with 0. So now basically what I've got right here is going to be x minus y minus 4, which is exactly what we got over there. So this is going to be x minus y minus 4 equals 0. And in both cases, we're able to determine the equation of the line. So how do we know that we are correct? Well, again, I can just take like either point P or point Q or any other point on the line where I know the x and y coordinates, and I can just substitute them into these two spots right here, and it should equal 0 when I do the math. So let's take point Q and substitute into our general form equation. So x, which is -2, minus y, which is -6, minus 4, that should equal 0. This is -2, minus -6 is +6, minus 4 equals 0. And if we look at this, -6 or -2 plus 6 is 4, and 4 minus 4 is 0, and 0 equals 0. So we know that all of our work is correct. Okay, so let's move on to class example number 2. So keeping in mind that there are 3 formats, and what are we given and what do we need to do? Well, we're given a point, this time 1 point, not 2 points. So I can't calculate the slope from that, but it tells us we have another line right here, already in general form, and the new line that we're making is going to be perpendicular to that. So what do I know about the perpendicular line? Well, it's going to have a slope that is going to be inverted, and it's going to change the signs. So for example, if we have a slope equal to 1 over 2, then the parallel slope is going to equal -2 over 1. So we're going to flip that fraction and change the sign. And if I had a slope equal to -3 over 2, the parallel slope is going to equal 2 over 3, and it's going to be positive. Okay, so knowing that is going to be important. So what am I going to do? Well, I need to take the equation that they gave us, so 3x minus 5y plus 17 equals 0, and I need to figure out what the slope is. So the easiest way to do it would probably to be put it into the slope y-intercepts form. So y equals mx plus b. So I need to take that and I need to convert it into y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in this case, notice that the value of y should be on the left side of the equal sign, or the right, whatever, one side, and the mx plus b should be on the other side. And the coefficient in front of y should be a positive 1. Okay, so right now I can see over here that it's negative 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5y, add 5y. So generally what I have now is 5y equals, remember that's canceled, so I've got 3x plus 17. Okay, so let me just make sure. Okay, and now the value in front of y, the coefficient, is not a positive 1, it's a positive 5 in this case. So I'm going to divide that by 5, which means I need to divide everything by 5. The 5's cancel, leaving me with y equals 3 over 5, x plus 17 over 5. Now what do I care about here? Just that slope right there. And if I know that I have a slope on this line that's equal to 3 over 5, then the parallel slope of our new line is going to be negative 5 over 3. Okay, so now that I know my slope is negative 5 over 3, I'll just take this work right here and resize it. And I just need to do a little bit of thinking. So if I have my slope, I need to put it back into this formula right here. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to put that into here. So y equals, let's do this in red, y equals m, which is negative 5 over 3. And that's going to be, well, first of all, let's sort of do it like we did last time. So there's going to be two possible equations that I can use. So y equals mx plus b, and the other one is going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, and this point up here can be our x, y, 1, 1. Okay, and let's start with our y equals mx plus b. So I know y is 0. I know m is 1. Oh no, sorry, m is negative 5 over 3. And I know the x value is 5. So from that I can calculate b. So I'm just going to substitute y with 0 equals m, negative 5 over 3, times x. X is 5. Why did it do that? This is going to be 5, and it's going to be plus b. So now I've got 0 equals negative 25 over 3 plus b. Now in order to calculate what b is, I'm going to get rid of the 3 that's on the bottom here, or basically I could just add it to the other side. So b is going to equal 25 over 3. Okay, so once I have that b equals 25 over 3, and I know the slope as well, let's resize this a little bit, I can go back into here and just do it again. So I'm having to keep jumping back in there. So this case is going to be y equals m, which is negative 5 over 3 x plus 25 over 3. Now what do I know about general form? It can't have a fraction. So I'm going to multiply everything in here by 3. So essentially it's like 3 times y, which is going to be 3y, equals 3 times negative 5 over 3 is just going to be negative 5x. And 3 times 25 divided by 3 is going to be plus 25. So we're getting closer to the general form. What do I need to do? I need to have all 3 of these, the x, the y, and the constant on one side, make them equal to 0, and I want this x to equal to the coefficient in front of x to to be a positive. In this case, it's -5, so I'm going to move it to the other side by going add 5x. So I'm going to do that to both sides. And I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides. And that's going to cancel everything over here, leaving us with 0. And on the other side, I've got a 5x plus 3y minus 25 equals 0. And that is going to be our final answer right there. Okay, now what if I want to use the other equation? Well, let me just again reduce this down a little bit so we got some space. Eek. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Resize. Beauty of the iPad, you can move things around, makes it quite easy to work with. Okay, so we ended up with 5x plus 3y minus 25 equals 0. So if we use the other form of the equation of a line, will it work as well? Well, let's try. Y minus y1, which is 0, equals m, -5/3, times the x, which is going to be just x minus x1, which is going to be 5. Now, the best thing to do here is to essentially multiply everything by 3 right now to get rid of that fraction that's down there. So if I multiply everything in here by 3, it's going to be 3 times y, which is 3y. 3 times 0 is nothing, equals 3 times -5 divided by 3 just gives us -5. And I've got this x minus 5. Now just realize that this whole thing right here is one term. Okay, so I've got 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, and I multiplied it by all 3. 3 times y is 3y, 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times the -5 divided by 3 gives us -5, and it's still multiplied by x minus 5. I still need to expand this out a little bit more. So I get 3y equals -5x. -5 times -5 is going to be plus 25, and that should start to look familiar. I'm going to move everything over to the left side by adding 5x and subtracting 25, and whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. That ends up being 0 over here, and this ends up being 5x plus 3y minus 25 equals 0. So in both cases, I was able to come up with the same equation of the line in general form. Okay, and again, we can check using the point 5, 0. I can do a check. So x is the 5 and y is 0, so I just want to take those numbers and substitute them in here. So it's going to be 5 times x, which is 5, plus 3 times y, which is 0, and then subtract 25, and that should equal 0. Well, we know that 3 times 0 is cancelled. We know that 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 minus 25 equals 0. Everything looks good. Okay, last class example, and that's class example number 3. So same thing, I'm just going to be using different forms of the line depending on what information I'm given. So in this case, it tells us we've got, we need to find the equation of a line again, put it in general form, and the new line that we're trying to make is going to be perpendicular to this line. So that's going to have a slope that is going to be different and set up the way a slope, perpendicular slope is. And with the other one down here, it says it's going to have the same x-intercept as this one. Be careful when you read that. Quite often Y-intercept, you might look at that quickly and think that's going to be Y-intercept, but it's the same X-intercept. So I'm starting off with this equation up here, 5x minus 7y minus 10 equals 0. And I know that the slope of this line is going to be perpendicular to the slope of the line that I'm making. Okay, so I need to convert this into sort of the y equals mx plus b in order to calculate my slope. Okay, so generally what I need to do is, if I look right here, it's a negative 7y, so I'm going to add 7y to both sides, canceling that out. And now I've got a 7y equals 5x minus 10. Okay, so y needs, in this format, it needs to have a coefficient of 1. So I'm going to divide that by 7, which means I'm going to divide everything by 7. And I end up with y equals 5 over 7x minus 10 over 7. And what we're concerned about is the slope right here. And what do I know? This slope, which equals 5 over 7, the perpendicular slope is going to be negative 7 over 5. So the slope of my new line is going to be negative 7 over 5. Okay, so let's just reduce this down a little bit. Okay, and it says that it's got the same, it doesn't give me any points in here right now, so I could take this, you know, 7 over, a negative 7 over 5 and put it into here, but that's going to be just the m, and I don't have values of y and x in order to calculate b. So I do know that, what do I know about the x-intercept? Well, at the x-intercept, what do we know? Y equals 0. So at the x-intercept, we know y equals 0. So I'm going to have 2 points right here, 2 coordinates on this point, and the y is going to be 0, and we need to figure out the x value. So what I do is I take the equation that it gave us, x minus 2y minus 12 equals 0. And what do I know? I know there's a point, an x-intercept, that's where y equals 0. So all I have to do is substitute y with 0. So I get x minus 2 times 0 minus 12 equals 0. I've got x minus 12 because negative 2 times 0 is 0. And that equals 0. I'm going to add 12 to both sides, and I get x equals 12. So basically, the x-intercept is going to be at 12, 0. Okay, so that is a point on the line. So now I can essentially use either y equals mx plus b, or the other format, the y minus y1 right here, and shove into those equations the x and y point and the slope that we've calculated. So I'm going to use the slope point form right here. So I'm just going to reduce this in size again. Resize. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go write down my equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'm going to substitute some values. So y minus, well, at the y-intercept, or at the x-intercept, the y is equal to 0, equals m, which is going to be negative 7 over 5, times x minus x1, which is going to be 12. In this case, I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 5 in order to get rid of that denominator in the fraction right there. Realizing I got 3 terms. I got 1 term, 2 terms, and 3 terms like that. So I need to multiply 5 by y. I need to multiply 5 times the 0 and 5 times that third term right there. So if I do that, I'm going to end up with 5y. 5 times 0 is 0, so I just ignore that, equals negative 7 times x minus 12, When I expand this out, I get 5y equals negative 7x. Negative 7 times negative 12 is a positive 84. And now I want to put it in general form where x is going to be positive. So I'm going to add 7x minus 84, which means I'm going to add 7x on this side and minus 84. I got 0 over here. So I'm going to have 7x plus 5y minus 84 equals 0, and that should be my final answer. Okay, and I'm just going to minimize this. Okay, and how would we do our check again? Well, in order to do our check, we're going to take a known point, which is 12 and 0, and substitute it back in there. So to check, I'm going to go 7 times x, which is 12, plus 5 times y, which is 0, minus 84 equals 0, and that gives me an 84 minus 84 equals 0, and I can see that that's true, and I know that the equation that I've come up with is true according to what we have right there. Okay, so that's it. We're moving on to assignment on page, whatever page it says, 588, and going through all the questions. And don't forget to check your answers right here on whatever page that happens to be on 592. Okay, we'll see you in class.